value of each expression in radians. If there is no value, write undefined. In part A, we got tangent inverse of 1. So before we evaluate these inverse trig functions, let's work on unit circle. Let's just fill in unit circle. So here is my fill in unit circle. I just fill myself. It can be provided. So 1, 0. So that's at 0 degree or 0 radians, that's 1, 0. And 90, this is 0, 1. 180, that's negative 1, 0. And other angles. For sine inverse and tangent inverse, we need only first quadrant and negative of first quadrant. That would be fourth, but that's not necessary. Just first quadrant. If there are negative numbers, you can pull that outside. Okay, that is just for tangent inverse and sine inverse. For cosine inverse, we look at first quadrant and second quadrant. So we don't need other quadrants. By the way, these are, the unit circles. So first x coordinate means cosine, y coordinate means sine. But there is nothing for tangent. So we can always define some. We can just write down for tangent as well. And for tangent, we only need first quadrant. Second, sine divided by cosine. Y over x, just 1/2 divided by root 3 over 2. That's 1 over root 3 or root 3 over 3. And for 0, 0 divided 1, 0. So the third coordinates, I'm writing these values for tangent. They are same, 1. Divide root 3. And this is undefined. Okay, once we have this fill in unit circle, let's do it. Tangent inverse of 1 means we are looking for angle. For tangent inverse and sine inverse, only first quadrant, where the value is 1. So the angle whose tangent is 1. Look at here, 1. That's at pi over 4. So tangent inverse of 1 is pi over 4. All that means tangent of pi over 4 is 1. Sine inverse negative 3/2. Negative 3/2 means negative 1.5. And we know that sine and cosine can't have numbers bigger than 1 or numbers less than negative 1. So there are no values, no angles they can produce negative 3/2. So undefined. Tangent inverse root 3 over 3. Root 3 over 3, that's pi over 6. Tangent inverse negative. So if there is a negative sign for tangent and sine inverse, not for cosine inverse though. For sine inverse and tangent inverse, pull the negative outside. Okay, that is outside. Now root 3, tangent inverse of root 3, here, that's pi over 3. Cosine inverse of negative root 3 over 2. Okay, as I said, don't pull negative outside for cosine inverse. Cosine inverse is neither, nor even, nor not or, nor even. So you can't say anything. We just look at x value, negative 3 over 2, because cosine means x in unit circle. Negative means obviously in the second quadrant, negative here, negative 3 over 2, that's pi over 6. Okay, let's do this one. 5/3, which is bigger than 1. And for sine and cosine, bigger than 1 means there is no angle. Undefined. Now here, sine inverse and sine, don't blindly cancel those. Because when we get the angle outside, that should be always in first quadrant or negative of first quadrant. That's in fourth quadrant. 3 pi over 4, that is in fact in second quadrant, bigger than 90 degrees. But 3 pi over 4, I just saw here, this is a standard angle. Then what we can do, find the value of sine 3 pi over 4. So it will be a two-step. Sine inverse of sine 3 pi over 4 value is sine 3 pi over 4 is, sine means y coordinate, root 2 over 2. Now for sine inverse, the answer is always in first quadrant or negative of first quadrant. There is no negative sign. So sine inverse of root 2 over 2, find the value in first quadrant, angle in first quadrant, whose sine is root 2 over 2. So root 2 over 2 sine means y coordinate, that's at pi over 4. So this gives us pi over 4. Same thing here. Oh, tangent and sine, we can play around this negative. Tangent of negative means this negative comes to the front here. And tangent inverse of negative means that can come to the front as well. So this negative can be pulled all the way outside. But for cosine inverse, we don't know. Okay. This is now tangent inverse of tangent and pi over 3. I mean, we can simply cancel tangent inverse and tangent if this is in the first quadrant, by the way. Here, in part F, we can't cancel because 3 pi over 4 is not in the first quadrant. Here, it's the first quadrant, so their actions cancel. And the answer is negative pi over 3. Or you can just find the value of tangent pi over 3 using unit circle, which is root 3. And tangent inverse of root 3 is pi over 3. Back to the answer. So they cancel because this is in correct quadrant. So the answer is negative pi over 3. Okay, final.